Long ago, humans disappeared from the galaxy. No one knew how or why. One day their colonies went dark. Their fleets stopped answering. Their cities turned silent. The alien empires told stories about them, small, weak, emotional creatures who dreamed too big and burned too fast. They laughed when they spoke of Earth. Humans were brave, the aliens said, but too fragile for this galaxy. And so, the memory of humanity slowly faded. Centuries passed. The stars moved on without them. Until one day something changed. It began as a whisper, a strange signal caught by a mining ship near the edge of the Orion sector. At first the crew thought it was static. But then the signal repeated, clear and rhythmic, a pattern of human origin. The captain reported it to the nearest relay station. Within hours, every communication network in that region picked up the same pulse. Beep, pause, beep, pause. A code long forgotten. Morse code. The translation came soon after. We remember. Panic spread across the nearby systems. Who was sending it? Humans were gone, erased from history. The Velith Consortium, an ancient alien empire, sent a scout team to the dead world where the signal came from, a planet humans once called Nova Terra. The planet had been empty for over 500 years. No life. No air. No light. The alien ship entered orbit. Its sensors scanned the surface. Nothing. But then, for a brief moment, something flickered. A power source deep underground. The pilot frowned. Energy reading detected. Unknown type. The commander ordered a landing. The ship descended slowly through thick dust clouds, past ruined towers half buried in ash. Every building looked lifeless, like bones of a forgotten city. Then the static began, faint at first, then sharp and painful. The crew covered their ears. The screens glitched. Symbols flashed, old Earth languages. And then, for a single second, a human face appeared on every screen, pale, calm, staring directly at them. The message spoke. Leave. The transmission ended. The commander tried to lift off, but the engines failed. One by one lights went out. The last thing the crew saw was the planet's surface beginning to glow, as if something beneath the ground had awakened. Their final transmission to the Velith High Council was only 2 words. They're back. And then silence. The report spread like wildfire across the galaxy. At first, many refused to believe it. The Zerith Dominion called it a hoax. The Krylax Empire accused the Velith of fabricating human myths to scare others. But then, more signals appeared. Across multiple sectors, dead human colonies began to light up again. Abandoned moons now showed power readings. And across every network, the same 3 words appeared again and again. We remember. In the Great Galactic Council, chaos broke out. Old rivalries were forgotten as fear united them. Whoever these humans were, if they truly returned, no one knew their strength or their purpose. The Elder of Krylon whispered, if they survived this long in silence, what have they become? But no one answered. Deep in space, near the rim, a small cargo ship picked up another strange reading. A shadow moved among the stars, silent, enormous, and cold. The captain thought it was a comet until the object changed direction. It was a ship, black as night, without lights, without signals, moving smoothly against the starfield. Sensors couldn't lock onto it. It was as if space itself refused to notice it. Then, for a brief second, a word appeared on the ship's console. Observation complete. And the black ship vanished. Throughout the galaxy, the same pattern repeated. Alien scouts went missing. Fleets sent to investigate never returned. Every destroyed drone, every lost ship carried one final transmission before going silent. They see us. The Council of Worlds gathered again. Some demanded war. Others called for peace. But deep down, none truly understood what they were facing. The ancient archives were reopened. Old records of the Human Confederation were studied. Their wars, their unity, their unpredictable will. One archivist whispered to another. They were the only species that fought until the last breath, and smiled doing it. Weeks passed. Then months. And then one night, the sky above the Velith capital world filled with light. Every satellite failed. Every ship froze in orbit. The stars seemed to dim. From deep space, a message broadcast on every frequency, every channel, every empire. A calm human voice spoke in perfect galactic standard. You took from us. You forgot us. But we remember. And then the voice added, cold and final. Debt acknowledged. The signal ended. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy knew fear. No one spoke. No one dared to move. Because everyone understood one thing. If the humans had truly returned, this was not diplomacy. It was a warning. The Great Council went silent. Every empire waited for the next signal. But none came. Only one final message was found, drifting through the void, recorded from that first mining ship that heard the signal. It said, "The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but humanity never forgot the galaxy. After the signal, we remember, the galaxy could no longer sleep." Every government, every fleet, every spy network searched for answers. But the more they searched, the less they found. Humanity's name returned to every screen, every council meeting, every late-night whisper. And yet, there were no human ships. No faces. No transmissions. Only silence. But it was not peaceful silence. It was the kind that made the stars feel heavy, the silence before a storm. Weeks passed. The Velith Consortium built a massive defense line around their border worlds. Patrol ships watched every sector near old human space. But then one morning, without warning, 5 entire planets lit up at once. Worlds that had been dead for centuries, burned, destroyed, now showed signs of life. Satellites detected lights, energy shields, and movement on the surface. All readings pointed to one thing: human origin. The alien admirals stared at the data in disbelief. "How is that possible?" one whispered. "Those worlds were glassed during the Great Cleansing." Another answered softly, "Then someone has rebuilt them, in secret." The Council of Worlds gathered again. Their massive chamber filled with hundreds of alien voices, angry, scared, desperate. "The humans are back," one shouted. "We must destroy them before they destroy us," yelled another. But the Elder of Krylon shook his head. "No one knows what they are now. If they survived this long in the dark, maybe they are not the same humans we remember." The room fell silent. Because deep down, every species remembered the old stories. About how humans fought. About how they never surrendered. About how even when defeated they smiled and said, "We'll be back." Soon after, the first contact probe was sent to the reawakened world called Nova Prime. It entered orbit quietly, cameras ready. Everything below looked normal. There were cities, glowing with blue light. Roads, fields, towers that reached the clouds. But no movement. No people. No sound. The probe circled twice. Then a voice came through the static. "You are not welcome here." The voice was calm. Human. Before the operator could respond, the probe shut down. Its feed cut to black. 5 seconds later, the entire satellite network in that region went offline. Every ship nearby lost power for exactly 12 seconds. When systems restarted, they found something carved into their navigation logs. 3 words. "Leave us be." The event terrified the galaxy. But fear soon turned into obsession. What if humanity had discovered something powerful during their disappearance? Some kind of forbidden technology? Rumors began, stories of quantum fleets, invisible ships, weapons that bend gravity. The aliens told each other, "Humans are ghosts now. They walk unseen." No one dared to go near their old territories again. But something strange began to happen. The silence spread. Entire sectors went dark, one after another. Trade beacons stopped responding. Ships traveling near human zones vanished without a trace. The galaxy's communication network, once bright with constant chatter, grew quieter every day. And then the first visual evidence appeared. A merchant convoy on the outer rim recorded something on their scanners. A massive shadow passing in front of a star. It was a ship, but not like any known design. Smooth. Black. Without engines or visible weapons. It didn't emit energy, it absorbed it. The convoy captain described it with shaking hands. It was as if the light itself bent around it. And it was watching us. Moments later, the recording ended with one short message. Observation complete. Now every empire was afraid to even send ships near human space. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. The Zerith Dominion, proud and arrogant, refused to hide. Their leader, High Commander Vora, stood before his fleet of 2,000 warships and said, "These are just ghosts. Machines playing old signals. We will prove the truth." His fleet entered the dark zone. For the first hour, everything was normal. Then, the stars disappeared. Sensors showed nothing. Space itself seemed to close around them. "Report," the commander shouted. No answer. Only static. And then, one by one, every ship began to vanish, not explode, not burn, just disappear. The last transmission from the Zerith fleet was a single human voice saying, "Debt acknowledged." When the council received the news, chaos followed. The Dominion had been erased, an empire gone in one night. The message appeared again across every channel. "We remember." But this time there was something new beneath the words, another sentence written in human script. It said, "Reckoning begins." The galaxy grew silent once more. No trade. No travel. No communication. Every empire hid behind their defenses, waiting for the next move. But the humans made none. They simply watched. Their ships appeared in the distance, never attacking, never speaking. They were everywhere and nowhere. Their silence was louder than war. And soon, everyone began to understand the truth. This was not revenge. This was judgment. Ending line. The galaxy had faced wars, plagues, and destruction, but nothing frightened them more than the silence of humanity. For months the galaxy lived in fear. Trade routes were empty. Ships avoided the dark zones where the humans had returned. Every screen, every signal, every whisper carried only 3 words. "We remember." No one dared to answer. No one, except the Zereth Dominion's successor, the proud Varan Empire. They called the stories myths. They said, "No ancient race can scare us. We control the stars now." But deep down, even the Varan feared the silence. The Varan Emperor ordered a full recon fleet, 1,000 warships, equipped with the newest plasma cannons and shield generators, to enter the old human region known as Sector 12, once home to Earth's colonies. The mission was simple. Find the humans. Demand their surrender. Or destroy them. The fleet's commander, Admiral Karel, was a hard, proud warrior. He stood on the bridge of his flagship Vengeance of Varan, staring into the dark. "Humans are gone," he told his officers. "What remains are ghosts and machines." But his words felt hollow. The deeper the fleet went into human space, the darker it became. Stars disappeared behind strange energy shadows. Every signal, every transmission faded into static. And then the flagship's sensors detected something, a planet once known as Eden 4. It had been lifeless for over 500 years. Now it glowed again. "Surface readings," the admiral ordered. His officers hesitated. "Energy output, massive. Unknown source. Artificial." Karel narrowed his eyes. "Send a message." The fleet broadcasted across all frequencies. "This is Admiral Karel of the Varan Empire. We come in peace. Identify yourselves." Silence. No response. They tried again. "We request communication with whoever controls this system." Still nothing. Only the sound of static. The admiral frowned. "Fine. We will make them listen. Prepare a warning shot." A single plasma blast fired from the Vengeance, heading toward the planet's surface. It glowed bright blue for a second, and then vanished mid-space. No explosion. No energy reading. It was simply gone. The crew stared in shock. "Impossible," one officer whispered. The admiral's voice trembled for the first time. "What happened to the shot?" Before anyone could answer, the lights dimmed. All systems went offline. Screens turned black. And then a voice, calm, human, and cold, filled the ship. "You should not have come." The admiral froze. "Who are you?" "You know who we are," the voice replied. "Debt acknowledged. Payment begins." Then one by one Varan ships began to disappear. Not explode. Not break apart. They simply blinked out of existence, erased from space. The admiral shouted orders. Shields. Weapons. Anything. But the controls didn't respond. The ship's AI screamed error codes before going silent. Outside, the crew watched in horror as the stars themselves seemed to bend, the space around them twisting like water. In that distortion they saw shapes. Massive ships, black and featureless, moving slowly, silently, with purpose. Human ships. The admiral tried one last time. "This is a misunderstanding. The voice cut him off. "Misunderstanding? You destroyed our home. You erased our name. You turned our children into dust. There is no misunderstanding." The admiral's final words were never heard. The flagship vanished, leaving only empty space. When the rest of the galaxy received the report, panic spread faster than light. The entire Varan fleet, over 1,000 ships, gone without a trace. Only a single probe survived, drifting near the last known location. It carried one message burned into its data core. Debt paid in part. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session. Holograms of hundreds of alien leaders filled the chamber. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the Elder of Krylon broke the silence. "Now we know. The humans have returned, and they do not forgive." A diplomat from the Krylax Empire whispered, "What do they want?" The Elder replied softly. "They said payment begins. That means this is not the end. It's only the start. Fear rippled through the chamber. Some demanded immediate war. Others begged for peace. But deep down, everyone knew the truth: you cannot negotiate with ghosts. On a distant asteroid station, a young alien scientist was studying captured human relics from ancient times. He stared at old photographs, humans smiling, laughing, standing together. He couldn't believe that these same creatures had returned as silent reapers. He whispered to himself, "What happened to them out there, to turn them into this?" The lights in his lab flickered. His computer activated by itself, showing a single message on the screen. "We became what you made us." The scientist froze. Then the power went out. In the following weeks, new sightings appeared. Dark human ships moving near the borders of every major empire. Never attacking. Never speaking. Just watching. Whenever a patrol approached, the ships disappeared. Whenever someone tried to follow, they got lost in distortion fields. It was as if space itself protected the humans. And across the galaxy, the same feeling grew stronger, the quiet before the storm. One night, across every communications network, a single broadcast appeared. A human voice, emotionless, powerful, echoing across thousands of systems. "We asked for nothing. You gave us pain. Now you will give us silence." And with that, the signal ended. Every system it touched went dark for exactly 1 minute. Every starship's lights flickered. Every machine paused. And when the power returned, one sentence remained on every screen: "The reckoning begins." Ending line. The galaxy had seen wars and monsters, but never had it faced its own guilt made flesh. The galaxy was no longer at peace. After the fall of the Varan fleet, every empire locked its borders. Trade stopped. Travel stopped. And in the silence, everyone waited for the next move. No one dared to speak the word human aloud anymore. It had become a whisper, a curse spoken only in fear. The gathering of worlds. In the heart of the galaxy stood the great council hall, built on a floating ring around a blue sun. Here the most powerful species gathered: leaders, generals, scholars, and spies. The chamber glowed with holograms from every empire. Tension filled the air like heavy smoke. The high speaker of the council, a tall silver-skinned being named Theranol, opened the meeting. 5 fleets have vanished. 1,000 ships, gone without trace. We can no longer deny it. Her voice shook slightly. The humans have returned. A deep silence followed. An insectoid general slammed his claw on the table. "This is madness. No species can destroy a fleet in seconds." A soft voice answered from the shadows. "They can." Everyone turned. It was Elder Krylon, the oldest member of the council. His eyes tired, his voice low. "You forget who they were. Humans built weapons that frightened even the gods." A younger diplomat hissed, "That was thousands of years ago. They were primitive." Krylon shook his head. "Primitive? They reached the stars with fire and steel. They fought wars not for land but for belief. And when we betrayed them, they swore they would return." The hall fell silent again. Shadows over the capital. Outside the council station, fleets stood ready, a wall of silver ships guarding the skies. But even they felt small. Sensors began to flicker. Power dipped for a moment. "Report." Theranol demanded. "Unknown distortion above the system," replied a technician. "It's enormous." The ceiling hologram activated, showing the space above the capital world. A shadow was forming, dark, massive, stretching across half the planet. At first, everyone thought it was an eclipse. Then the scanners focused. It wasn't a shadow. It was a ship. The hall filled with gasps. It hung there, silent and still, a black shape against the stars. No engines, no markings, no heat. It did not send any signal, yet every machine felt its presence. Theranol whispered, "How large is it?" "Larger than any station we've ever built," replied the technician. "Maybe the size of a small moon." A nervous diplomat muttered, "They can't mean to attack, can they?" No one answered. The ship simply drifted, unmoving, watching. Then, without warning, every device in the council chamber shut down. Lights off. Screens dead. Total silence. A single voice echoed through the darkness, calm, human, and cold. "You gathered to decide our fate once before. Now we decide yours." The holograms flickered back to life, showing an image of a man, or something that looked human. His face was pale, his eyes bright silver, his expression calm. He spoke slowly. "You called us weak. You erased our world. You thought we were gone. We waited. We learned. We endured." His eyes turned to every delegate in the chamber. "We do not want your worlds. We want truth. Theranal stood trembling. What truth? The figure answered softly. The truth of why you betrayed us. And then the image vanished. The debate of fear. The chamber erupted. Some demanded to fight. Others cried for peace. They will destroy us all, one shouted. No, another yelled. They only want answers. Elder Krylon stood again. You do not understand. To humans, truth and vengeance are the same thing. Theranal turned to him. Then what do we do? The elder looked out the window at the silent black ship above the planet. We pray they remember mercy. The hidden message. Hours later, as panic filled the capital, the council tried to send a peace signal. Their engineers built a communication beam strong enough to cross galaxies. They sent one message. We seek peace. We seek understanding. For a moment it seemed to work. The ship flickered with faint light, a line of golden energy running across its hull. Then a reply appeared on every screen, every device, every mind connected to the network. It said only, peace was offered once. You answered with fire. And then the signal ended. The council's power grid failed again. All stations across the system went dark. Outside, the human ship slowly turned, not to attack but to leave. As it disappeared into the void, it left behind something carved into space itself, glowing symbols in human language. The translation shook everyone. You took. You lied. You forgot. We remember. The fear that follows. Days passed, but the image of that ship haunted every living mind. Some believed it was a warning. Others thought it was the beginning of the end. Everywhere, people whispered about the reckoning. Children asked their parents, who were the humans? And the parents had no answer. Because the truth was simple. The galaxy had never really understood humanity. They only feared what they could not control. Now, fear had returned to them 1,000-fold. Ending line. The galaxy once mocked the silence of Earth. Now, that same silence watched them from the stars. The Great Council was silent for days after the human ship vanished. No one slept. No one spoke. The shadow it left behind still hung in orbit like a wound in space. The message burned in every leader's mind. You took. You lied. You forgot. We remember. But what did it mean? What had the galaxy taken from humanity? What lie had they told? The answers lay buried in the archives, in records so old that most species called them myths. The forgotten truth. Deep within the Council's restricted vaults, Elder Krylon stood alone before ancient holograms. Files labeled Earth Conflict, Final Years. He entered his access code and the files opened for the first time in centuries. Static filled the air. Then images appeared, old recordings of blue skies, green lands and oceans. Krylon's heart ached. He remembered the day he first saw that planet. The humans were full of hope, young, curious, reckless. They built cities in the stars, traded with everyone, trusted everyone. And that trust destroyed them. The Great Betrayal. Thousands of years ago, the galaxy had been at war. A massive alien coalition, the Zereth Dominion, was expanding, burning worlds, enslaving weaker races. The Galactic Council needed soldiers, desperate, fearless fighters. They turned to humanity. Humans agreed to help. They fought beside alien fleets, bled for alien causes, and died on alien soil. They were promised protection, alliance, and a place in the Council. But when the war ended, the promises ended too. The Council feared humanity's growing power. Their creativity, their unpredictability, it scared the older empires. So the Council made a secret choice. They betrayed their allies. Under the command of the Elder Houses, fleets of so-called peacekeepers surrounded human colonies. The humans were told it was a security measure. Then the bombardments began. The fall of Earth. The recordings showed fire raining from the skies. Human cities burning. Families running as orbital strikes fell like meteors. The final message from Earth played, a woman's voice, broken but strong. If anyone finds this, know that we stood until the end. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. And then silence. The planet cracked, oceans boiled, and blue turned to ash. The Council erased all records. They told the galaxy that humanity destroyed itself in civil war. And the galaxy believed them. Elder Krylon turned off the recordings, trembling. He whispered to himself, "They remember, because we never told the truth." The survivors. But humanity did not die. Small groups escaped the destruction. Scientists, soldiers, children. They hid on forgotten moons, abandoned stations, drifting in the void. For centuries they rebuilt in secret. They studied energy, gravity, and quantum fields, technology the galaxy had never seen. They learned how to move unseen, how to fight without firing a shot. They built ships that could vanish from sensors, weapons that could bend light, and a memory that would never fade. They watched from the dark edges of space, waiting, whispering. When the time comes, they will hear us again. That time was now. The Ghost Fleet awakens. On one of their hidden worlds, deep in a red nebula, the Ghost Fleet prepared. Thousands of black ships floated silently above the planet, their hulls absorbing all light. No markings. No flags. Only purpose. At their center stood a massive vessel, the Soul's Wrath. Inside, a figure walked the bridge, a man with silver eyes and a voice calm as death. Commander Eric Vale, last descendant of the First Earth Fleet. He looked at the holographic map of the galaxy, every empire, every capital, every world that had once betrayed them. His officers waited. He spoke quietly, but every word carried power. For 1,000 years they lived in comfort built on our bones. For 1,000 years they forgot us. Now they will remember. A young officer asked, "Do we seek revenge, Commander?" Eric turned toward the viewing window, where a dead sun glowed faintly. "No," he said. "This is not revenge. This is justice." The message to the stars. The Ghost Fleet moved, not through normal space but through folded light. No engines flared. No energy trails showed their path. They appeared above ancient worlds like ghosts, silent and unseen. And on every planet that once joined the betrayal, a message appeared in the sky. Reckoning is not war. It is memory made real. Panic returned to the galaxy. Empires mobilized fleets, but none dared to attack. They had seen what happened to those who tried. The return of fear. Back in the council hall, chaos erupted. Theranal shouted over the noise, "They're coming for us. We must defend ourselves." But Elder Krylon stood still, eyes closed. He whispered, "They don't want our lives, they want our truth. And we can't give it because truth burns." Above the capital, the stars flickered again. For a moment, the same shadow reappeared, the black ship that had watched them before. But this time it was not alone. Hundreds more appeared behind it. No sound. No light. Just the silent army of a forgotten race. Ending line. The fire they once unleashed upon humanity had returned, colder, wiser, unstoppable. The galaxy called it the reckoning. Humanity called it homecoming. The stars above the galactic capital shimmered like ice, cold, distant, uncaring. But tonight, something strange moved among them. A shadow crossed the constellations. One, then many. Across the skies of 100 worlds, people lifted their eyes and froze. Black ships filled the heavens. Silent. Motionless. Endless. Every empire, every species, every colony, saw the same thing. The Ghost Fleet had come. And at its heart, one colossal ship, Soul's Wrath, pulsed with soft white light. A beacon of judgment. The final transmission. Inside the Galactic Council, alarms screamed. Generals shouted orders. Fleet commanders demanded permission to attack. But Elder Krylon, his voice shaking, whispered, "Do not fire. Just listen." The council screens flickered. Every signal, every transmission, every frequency was overridden. The image of a man appeared, human, tall, calm, his eyes silver like starlight. Commander Eric Vale. He looked at the galaxy's leaders without anger, only quiet sorrow. "You destroyed our world," he said softly. "You erased our name. You buried our history beneath your lies." He paused. No one dared breathe. "We waited in silence, watching you build your peace on our ashes. We watched as you called yourselves civilized. But peace built on blood is not peace. It is forgetfulness." Then his tone hardened. "This is humanity's reckoning. Not for revenge, but for truth. The attack that never happened." The council panicked. A dozen fleets launched at once. Thousands of ships rushing toward the black vessels. Missiles, lasers, plasma cannons, all fired together. A storm of light filled the void. And then, nothing. The moment the weapons reached human ships, they vanished, dissolved, erased from existence. Not exploded. Not deflected. Just gone. The alien admirals shouted. Energy readings dropped to 0. Engines stopped working. Weapons froze. Entire fleets hung in space like toys, helpless and blind. A soft voice came across every channel. "We asked for truth. You answered with fire. Now you will have silence." The fall of the skies. Across the galaxy, lights began to fade. First the outer colonies, then the major worlds. Power grids collapsed. Space stations went dark. Warp gates froze mid-transit, trapping thousands in the void. No explosions. No screams. Just stillness. On every world the people looked up and saw their skies turn black. The stars themselves disappeared. And then, one by one, the human ships blinked out of existence, vanishing into the dark like dying embers. The message to all life. In the ruins of the council chamber, only one screen remained lit. Elder Krylon stood before it, trembling. Commander Eric's face appeared once more. "We do not seek your end," Eric said softly. "We seek your memory. Remember what you did. Remember what you lost. Remember humanity." His image flickered, fading. "We will not return to rule. We will not rebuild what you destroyed. We only take back our silence. Because silence is all you left us." The transmission ended. And with it, every sound in the galaxy died. The endless night. Days passed. Then weeks. No ships moved. No communications returned. Entire civilizations stared into a sky without stars. Their gods had gone quiet. Their enemies were gone. And in that void they began to remember the stories, the betrayal, the humans who once called them friends. On one small planet, a child asked her mother, "Who were they?" The mother looked up, tears shining in the dark. "They were us, if we had remembered to be brave." The return of the stars. Then one night something changed. Over Earth's shattered remains, now nothing but a gray, silent moon of dust, a single light appeared. A small, glowing symbol burned across the sky, a hand holding a flame. Every sensor across the galaxy picked it up. The symbol of humanity's spirit. And beneath it, a final message appeared, carved in light. "We remember. Always." The galaxy's silence. No one saw the humans again. No fleet, no colonies, no voice from the stars. Only that symbol remained, the hand and the flame, as a reminder. The galaxy rebuilt, slower this time. Kinder. They no longer mocked the weak or enslaved the poor. Because they knew, someone somewhere might still be watching. And in the stillness of space, some said they could hear faint whispers in the static. A voice older than time, calm and cold. "The reckoning is over. But the memory remains." Final lines. The stars returned to their places. Civilizations rose again. But none dared forget. Because on the day humanity repaid its debt, the galaxy fell silent forever. And in that silence, the humans were never gone. They had only become the silence itself.